Joined again by John McCurdy, the head coach of member services at Royal South Yarra Lawn Tennis Club. John, thanks for getting back with us again this morning. I know this is a topic you're particularly passionate about. It's one that you feel is a little bit of a lost art in Australian tennis, and certainly one that has a great history, this aspect of the game in tennis in Australia, and it's the volley. So the floor is yours. Take us through what you believe when you're coaching the volley.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Yeah, it is something I'm quite passionate about. I feel like it is a little bit of a lost art in Australian tennis with a lot of the young players, and it's always been a competitive edge that we've had in relation to other countries overseas. So I feel like it is something that should be emphasised more in Australian tennis through the coaches' courses and with young players' development. With the volley, it really starts with the grip, and this is what's probably lost really with the young players coming through. There's been a wide range of grips that are used with ground strokes, and then with that the volley grip's been lost a little bit, or hasn't been emphasised as much. So so the grip itself, we need our fingers spread. That creates a nice V in your hand here on top, and that should be roughly on the inside of the frame of the racket, all right, or on that ridge of your grip there. So by spreading your fingers, that also gives you a little bit of more control of the racket head. If you don't want your fingers like that, there's not enough control there. You don't want to be too far down the grip, otherwise again you lose control. So by spreading your fingers, have a little bit here between your little finger and the end of the grip to assist with control. Spread your fingers and your left hand on the throat. All that adds up to having a little bit more control of the racket head, which is what we want on the volley. It's not about generating pace, it's about control and feel. Your preparation, have your racket up in front. Be careful it's not across too much. So you're equally ready for both volleys, and you want a low base, a really low base with your head down over the racket head and leaning forward, not sitting back too much, not too much distance from your head to the racket head like that. We want to be down over the ball like that. So you're more ready for the volley and more ready for the low volleys. When you get in this low position, you're there already for a low volley. The ball comes high, you can move up to it. But if the other side, if you're up too upright, and a lot of young players get on their toes and they're trying to do the right thing by being on their toes, but then they're fairly upright and the ball comes low and they tend to chop at the volley. So we want to be on our toes, but we don't want to be too upright. So we want to be down low, racket in front, not too cocked, but it should happen naturally again if the grip's right. When you pick up the racket with the right grip, you can see that the racket head's slightly up and not too cocked and not down. The other thing, it's really important to have good intensity on the volley. Footwork's talked a lot about with ground strokes, but it's equally important with the volley. If you've got time, you've got to try and get your feet into position so you're down the court, not open stance. We need to be able to volley sometimes with an open stance because you don't always have time, and that's where you've got to be able to adjust the racket head. But in an ideal world, we want to be moving onto our front foot and have our feet down the court when we volley. That's where you're lined up. So intensity is really important. I think also being really alert. All these things add up to having a little bit more time when you play the volley. Keep your swing really short, I think is important. For me, I like to teach that you learn to volley without a swing. So you can see here, my hands, the only movement I've done to play this volley is there. I haven't really, I've just kept my hands in front and used my feet to get my body weight forward. So you can learn to add the swing in when you need to generate pace. But you need to be able to volley with a compact swing for a number of reasons. It creates time and when the ball's coming quickly, but also for better disguise. If you take a swing, it's very hard to play a drop volley, a short angle. So just with the same action, you can punch it deep, you can angle, you can drop volley, all with the same action. So you actually end up with more variety on the volley if you've got a compact swing, and you've got much better disguise. Your contact point, you want your contact point out in front. It helps you get through the volley. So often players that swing will catch the ball late and it's hard to control the volley from there. So again, hands in front, And then if your hands are in front, your contact's going to be in front. So if you take the racket back, that's when you can get into trouble. So there are times where you may need to swing a little bit to generate pace, but I think at a young age, if you can learn to volley with a really compact swing, and then you can learn to add the swing in when you need to. What else? The other thing is just training the volley. I think it's really important when you're practicing your volley. You can be doing this drill every day where you're warming up with someone and you're on the service line and you're volleying back to the baseline and just learning. So here's the service line here. When you're warming up with someone, instead of standing on top of the net and where everything's above net height, you stand back a little bit, and from here you've got time to move your feet and control your depth. And it's a great drill. Seems simple, but just stand back a little bit when you're hitting, when you've got your opponent at the baseline, you're on the service line, and you practice the control and feel and touch with your volleying, and also moving your feet. And back here you're going to get some low volleys. So it's a good one to remember, and I would say 80-90% of young players stand in a bit too close when they're warming up their volleys. Stand back this far and practice moving forward, come back, forward, and just try and get the feel with your control of your depth and your placement. And over time, I think that can make a real difference. If you do that daily, when you hit and you warm up, just get really good at that drill. If you can do that well and not miss and control your depth, you can pretty much do anything with your volley.